welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Marie Albajez, the Senior Editor of Women in Retail Leadership Circle. Today I'm joined by Kate Boyer, the CEO of Anatomie Fashion, a luxury travel clothing brand for women and men. In this episode, we discuss how Anatomie pivoted during a crucial time, what it's like founding a company with her husband, and what challenges she faced starting a business as a woman. Kate, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Those are some tough questions you got for me.
I know you'll get through it great. So tell us a little bit about why you started Anatomie and how your background in gymnastics led you down this path to becoming a CEO.
I feel like it all happened kind of by default. So I'm originally from Budapest, Hungary. So a lot of the girls and young kids are put into gymnastics or dancing, and they take that very seriously. So you end up growing up in a very disciplined environment. So as a kid, it's tough, but then later in life, it really serves you to kind of stay focused, organized, have always your routine respected. So that kind of stayed with me from the beginning of my life. I competed for a while and then ended up coaching a young girls team. And we became national champions in France 3 years in a row. So that was great. And I made outfits for my first little team to travel, train, and compete. And we needed something nicer, more durable, something lighter to pack. You know, we were kids, we didn't want to carry heavy luggage. So I feel like, everything from my past kind of evolved into what makes Anatomie so great today.
Yeah. So then how did you end up, meeting your husband and starting the company and moving into kind of designer luxury travel wear?
So with my European background, we always bought French and Italian fabrics. So the high-end materials and the tailor fit are part of our DNA. Personally, myself and my husband as well. So what happened is I got my line into some stores in France, moved to the Caribbean, have done a lot of private events and trunk shows until I met American customers who told me, like, Kate, listen, this is like the greatest clothing. You have to come to America. So I made a stop in Miami before doing some trade shows in New York and Las Vegas. And that's where I met Sean, my husband, who was actually designing custom athletic menswear. He's originally from Ohio and he was a bodybuilder. So imagine a bodybuilder from Ohio meets an Eastern European gymnast, we fall in love. And it was kind of like marriage made in fashion heaven because we both loved the same kind of fit, the same high-end fabrications. So we always had the same vision about what today's modern sportswear should look like. So we started working together from the start, traveled a lot. We did first, I think 6 years, we did about 400 events around the US to launch the brand. He's actually the one who came up with the name Anatomie, which speaks for a perfect fit and style. And that's how we kind of launched it. And it was an evolution because our background was more athletic, but our customers said that they only wore these clothes to pack and travel. And they took them from, exotic safari trips to hiking, to glamping, to the office, to meetings, to just, mommy life happening to them. And we kind of listened and learned and executed based on what the customer asked for. So that also stayed with us being a very consumer-centric brand. We're very close to our end users and we like to listen and learn and just make things better based on what ladies and gentlemen are saying.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you had this kind of background in like these luxury fabrics and then you just heard what the consumer was saying and found this like niche of luxury travel clothing specifically. That's amazing.
Right. So we saw a white space, exactly how you said, Marie, is we found the white space in the market and just went at it and perfected it like nobody else. So I feel like we pioneered that leisure. And before they even had a name for it, we were so early to the game.
Yes, I mean, they didn't really have a name for it. I feel like luxury athleisure, is something that we've heard a lot more now, but back in 2006 when you started this, it really wasn't a word that you heard a lot. So how did you kind of get in front of investors, get in front of people and say, this is the next kind of big brand to pay attention to?
So little by little, step by step, I have to be very honest about it because the first couple of years are, brutal. You're working really hard. Everything is on a shoestring budget. So our growth for the first decade was very organic until actually customers who have been trying to order, for example, their favorite pant in multiple colors said, Kate and Sean, how come I can't get the same pants in navy and khaki? I have 5 pairs of black. So I said, well, we don't have enough money to buy the fabrics in, more materials. So they said, but how much you need? So our first round of financing came from a group of customers whom we paid back. And they kind of taught us the formula of raising capital. So that was a skill set that, I wish I had earlier in my life, because that's not the world we come from, right? But we learned it, got better at it over time, and then raised the second and third round of financing, similarly from a group of customers and very powerful, influential, successful entrepreneurs. And today we're blessed to have them as board members and coaches, and they're really mentoring us to be not just a relevant brand with a strong product line and a perfect fit to market, but also a well-run, profitable organization. It's part of growing up, I guess.
That's awesome that your customers, knew that value immediately and helped finance those first few years. That's great.
Right.
So, working with your husband and starting a company, what are kind of the pros and maybe cons of that, if there are any, of, going into business, number one, with your husband, but number two, specifically with a man? How do you think that your experience is different in that sense?
So I think if you start together is different from, being married, having kids, and then try to do a business together. I'm not sure how, that works out. We have always been very like-minded about the vision of the product and the company itself, and how we really want to build Anatomie into a global top-of-the-mind lifestyle brand for modern people on the go. So I think the advantage is having somebody you can trust, you can count. Hypothetically, right? Your partner in crime and your partner in life is the same person. We also have a young girl together, but that took a while. So before we had a family together, we traveled almost a decade working and having fun and doing all those things together. So Charlie, your daughter, came later in life, and I guess she's keeping us on our toes and keeping us motivated, and together also it makes a strong bond. But then on the negatives about it, this is all you do. You have to be very dedicated and accept it that Sunday when you're on the beach with your dog and your kid, you're still talking about zippers and snap and might be arguing about which one to pick for the next photo shoot, which is what's going on right now next to me. So I think there's good and bad, just like in everything. And you have to wait for yourself and choose a path and assume the consequences. I personally love it because, seeing my daughter like at the business, and she comes here after work and kind of helps me pick sometimes from the photo shoot images, like, oh, Charlie, which one will you spark in her eyes? Mm-hmm. I don't know, it works for us.
Yeah. So how long was the company really just the two of you before you started adding team members, and what was that process like for you?
It's a very good question. So for a while, just like an American story, the American dream story, we worked from a 1-bedroom apartment sharing a computer. I would say 6-7 years, really organically. First, we had a shipping manager, a graphic artist, an accountant. So for a while, we were a team of 6-7 until, revenues are over a couple $1 million and you really need a team. And adding sales reps as we grew the wholesale channels, adding showrooms was the next step. And then after that, adding an e-commerce team as that became very important. That's also what helped us through the pandemic, that we already had a very strong direct-to-consumer focus. It was already 50% of our revenues coming from e-commerce when our wholesale channels got shut down. So for us, pivoting wasn't very hard. I'm sorry if I'm ahead of your questions, but it kind of ties together on how it all evolved throughout the years. And a big change happened when we realized we need a full-time CEO and president, from a creative person who's my husband to myself. I have an MBA from France. I'm a math major, so I'm very sales and revenue driven. We needed an operator. So when we hired Tom Dietrich, He ran Lafayette 148. He comes from a garment industry. He actually moved from New York for us and still commuting back and forth. That made a big change because we became a well-oiled machine that was ready to grow. So we owe him a lot operationally, making us better and adding team members. So now we're a team of 25. So I guess to answer your question, over the last 5 years, we grew from 7 to 25. Slowly to wholesale, e-com. Now there's a very young social media team who's running the platform. So just kind of evolving with the times and staying relevant. I think it's very important for a brand to succeed. And a lot of brands in the garment business, got outdated and then they had to shut down. They couldn't change fast enough with today's needs.
Right. Yeah. So tell me about that. I mean, you obviously had to pivot in 2020 because people were no longer traveling. And as you're a luxury travel wear company, I bet that was very difficult. So I was reading that you kind of repositioned Anatomie as kind of comfortable work from home wear. How did that transition happen?
So remember I told you we have always been very attentive to our consumers' needs and listening a lot. So what happened during the lockdowns is people started ordering more clothes. We had a very high return customer rate. So over 73% returning customers in 2020. So if you think about it, that means 2/3 of your database just keeps buying more products. So we reached out to our audience. We went live a couple of times on Instagram and stayed in front of them through today's available platforms. And they were telling us, Kate, listen, I used to travel in your clothes. Now I'm on my couch. I'm Zooming my kids. I'm walking my dog. My husband's working from home. Now he needs your pants. So the whole world turned casual, and our product line, being wrinkle-free, easy care, super simple and very versatile, kind of worked out. So it was a natural evolution to become a work from home essential line and spend most of our revenues into building up that inventory to be able to ship more of the same black, white, navy t-shirts, the same black, gray, navy, khaki pants. They were always your favorite fit, having known them from traveling with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you had that kind of natural transition already built in as an advantage to everybody else. That's great. You mentioned that a lot of your customers are repeat customers. I think you said 50%. And I think that's something that brands kind of dream about. So how do you have any tips for making sure that those customers are coming back?
Well, your product has to do what you promise it's going to do. We are the only brand with a lifetime warranty on the pants. So once you receive a pair and our stylist team helps you find the perfect fit, which also something, by the way, we launched during COVID, we launched a VIP stylist service that grew from 10 professional stylists to 75 today. And their revenues are already 25% of our company very quickly, because you give our ladies, so our company is built on 3 core values: personal connection, going beyond expectation, and speed matters. And we live and breathe all 3 of our mantras every day across every platform where we do, whether it's product development, how we take it to market, how we grow the business, how we hire people, and how we retain customers. So when I tell you that these fabrics wash and wear over and over again and they don't fall apart, it has to do that. So it takes a little bit of effort to get people in our clothes because we are, the fabrics are super lightweight. American consumers are not used to that. Our fit is very tailored. Again, that's something not very typical on this market. But once you get into it, it's like there's no turning back. So that's what also makes them sticky, is you get an outfit that works, you do everything in it, you wash it in the sink, it dries in 5 minutes hanging, you don't need the dry cleaner, iron, anything. And it does everything you need to do these days. So once you have that experience, of course, you're going to come back for more. So there's a marketing effort, of course, behind retargeting and working across all Facebook, social platforms, Google Ads, PPC, SEO. Like, we really are full speed ahead on every possible effort we can make to make sure that we outperform the competition in terms of repeat customer rate and not outspend them, because we're still, even after we raise money, we're still very frugal. Mm-hmm. The advice I would give to entrepreneurs launching a product that's built on the expectation that the customer should come back for more is very simple. You have to deliver what you promise. Your product has to do what you promise it's going to do, and you have to live up for it. And if something that happens, you have to replace it and stand up for it. So your reputation grows over time.
Yeah. And I know you said you're kind of full steam ahead. I know you recently launched men's apparel, and I believe you trademarked the word pro leisure in the process. So what does that trademark mean for you? Like, why was that important to have?
It was important to differentiate our men's capsule along the lines of the DNA of the women's line, which I just mentioned to you, around our core values of building personal connections, going beyond expectation, and speed matters. So we also wanted the gentlemen to have that same kind of experience our ladies had. So we were trying to find the word that respects the fact that we have a very professional, smart customer base. So that's how we cut the word pro a little short. And of course, we're an elevated casual leisure line. We never wanted to be too dressy or too preppy or too business-like, right? So pro leisure was a good word from the marketing team. And we trademarked it right away, worldwide, actually.
I love that. That's really smart. So did you have kind of a moment throughout your career or throughout kind of building Anatomie where you kind of thought, I made it, or like there's a moment, maybe it's when you hired your CMO, or a moment when you kind of showed anyone who doubted you that they were wrong?
I think part of fashion in our cycles is that you feel like you never made it and you always want more, because every day we get such an amazing motivation and inspiration from our customer base, sharing their adventures, their experiences in Anatomie. We get these love letters, and it's you definitely feel you're getting to the next level, but it doesn't mean you made it yet, because I have this big vision about Anatomie being a global force and really being at the forefront of what's next in terms of dressing and packing and teaching people how to do more with less. So it feels like we made it to the next level, but it doesn't feel like we made it yet to where we want to be, because there's a lot more to do. So that's that.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody feels like every day there's a reason to give up, whether it's a fight with your husband or an employee or somebody steals from you. Like there's always something, a shipment stuck in traffic. Like one of the best advice I got from an older gentleman who worked for us, he had his own factory, but then came working for us actually after he retired, is that, Kate, don't be upset, because in this business, you're going to have a reason to be upset every day. So if you're upset now, you're going to be upset. I'm like, no. So it was such a good advice. I always remember when I get upset, like, okay, let's calm down. Let's solve this, because tomorrow there'll be something else to tackle. Right. And especially as a mom entrepreneur, you're multitasking so much that keeping your cool is a real challenge. And I think my discipline background definitely helps me stay grounded. And my family, my parents, my daughter, and like just, simple moments keep you grounded. So you kind of have to stay focused on what matters more in life as well, not just like chasing always revenues and business and customers. So it's a balance.
Yeah. And tomorrow's always a new day, right? So what's next for Anatomie in 2022? I know you said you have this grand vision. So give us a little insight into what's next for you guys.
So our pop-up stores have been very successful. So we're looking at places to stay. We're a couple of flagships around the country and actually around the world. We were very successful in Palm Beach, Aspen, in the Hamptons. And Miami is such a diverse, attractive city right now. This is right our home base. So we're looking at spaces to go back and possibly stay. Present real brand message is definitely a priority. Strengthening our e-commerce and making the website and the mobile experience more high-tech, more user-friendly in terms of finding your perfect fit, fabric, and functionality for your life that you need out of our wardrobe, and working around, applications to make that shopping easy for you. So easy your husband or boyfriend could do it. That's another priority. Expanding the men's line and building on the success of the foundation is important, because we already have a big demand for pants. So we're excited to expand that. Also an international presence is on the way because I'm in communication with several travel retail companies doing corners and shopping shops in their duty-free spaces, whether they are on cruise ships with Starboard and Harding Retail, or in European airports, which is, my home base. So I'm very comfortable operating there. Kind of like to keep it 1, 2, 3, just so we stay focused and don't spread out too much. So these are our 1, 2, 3s for the next year.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a very hefty to-do list ahead of you.
Yes, might be another round of financing, something more strategic and on a bigger scale as well. As we grow and, get noticed on the market, to me, like the next big deal is a very motivating next step to work towards too.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining, Kate, and for sharing your story. And I know that you had a little discount that you wanted to offer our listeners.
Yes, because it's typically the question we get after the podcast goes live. We start getting emails and texts about it. So let's be proactive. I'm happy to offer WIR20, which will give your listeners 20% discount on Anatomy, and make sure it's valid on the entire site with no minimums. Okay?
Great. And people can go to anatomie.com for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I hope it was helpful and useful for all your listeners. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to respond. And our website's anatomie.com.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.